Awesome. Okay, I'm so excited. Week 2 with Jana doing our redefining wellness sessions. So I'll turn it over to you. I'm really excited about this week. Last week was awesome.
Aw, thanks, you guys. Thanks for coming back. Week 2, redefining wellness. I don't have my fancy ring light, so I'm lit by Mother Nature. That's why I have the sun in the west lighting the right hand side of my face. So thank you again for making your wellness a priority, everyone. And when I was talking to Jennifer about this month, this project, it felt so simple to come and present over these next 4, or I guess 3 Tuesdays now, all about redefining our wellness. And last week, if you watched the recording or if you were here live, you know that we really focused on the fundamentals of hydration and breathing. And I know that Bethany sent me a great comment from someone who had watched the recording about how I had positioned it in a really interesting way. And when you tie information back to your why or why it matters, the brain actually takes it in at a different level. And you can really start to make it a lifestyle habit, really. So that's what I want to do today. Just think of this like a Mexican 7-layer dip. Every time we meet here on Tuesday, there's more information, but it doesn't mean that we forget about what we did the week before. We're building and building and building. So today is all about posture. And I shooed my family out of our living room because I need to be able to stand up. And this is the best place in our house for me to be seated and standing. So please, if you have questions, you can raise your virtual hands or digital hands throughout. I'm happy to answer them, or I can take them at the end as well. I have my chat off just because I find it's a little distracting when I'm presenting. So I can always go back, or Bethany, if there's questions, you can always come back on your camera and I'm happy to answer those. All right. So what is posture? All right. Posture is where our bones are in relation to each other. That literally is what the definition is. So this is posture because it's where my bones are in relation to each other. Is it optimal posture? No. If you think of someone in a military style posture where they're standing at attention, that is posture. Is that the posture that is optimal during the day? No, that's a very frozen, forced posture, but it has a purpose, right? So posture is just, it's everything. It's where our bones are in relation to each other. Here's the problem, is that because we live on a planet with gravity, and because we don't understand the inner workings of our body that well, because we're creatures of habit, we habitually go where ease lives, okay? So our body will always take the path of least resistance, always, always, always. And that's why, everyone, in this series of redefining wellness, I need you to understand that maybe you've downloaded those 3 free videos off my website and you're trying them. And there's one complete workout called Align and Tone. And it's my favorite workout out of all of the workouts. I've shot hundreds of videos. That's my favorite one because that is the one that I get the most feedback on. And usually the message will be like, I just did Align and Tone. And like, what the heck was that? Like, I hardly moved my body, but that was one of the most challenging things I've ever done. So if you have not downloaded those or gone and requested those free videos, please do, because remember the breathing video is in there, and now the Align and Tone video, which really is going to follow what I share with you tonight, like perfectly. All right. So because we live on a planet with gravity, when our bone structure starts to change, we absorb gravity differently throughout our day. Now, you don't feel it, and I don't feel it now, but in 10 years from now, when you might have maybe disc issues or SI issues, or things like plantar fasciitis or frozen shoulder, forward head carriage. I call it the Pez dispenser, like those Pez candies, right? All of a sudden, well, not actually, no, let me rewind that, take 2. Not all of a sudden, it's not all of a sudden. It's like sequentially over years, you all of a sudden have a posture that is not optimized. And now your body is actually experiencing pain, because our body is really good at getting, how can I say this? Our body's really good at, our body is brilliant. Okay. It really is. So if our head is here, it's going to adapt. All right. And some muscles are going to have to work way harder. In this case, the muscles at the front of your neck. If you're in this Pez dispenser, you can even see how my neck changes versus the softness when I have it in the right spot. So when I'm doing this, you can literally see all the tension, yet the muscles at the back are shortening. So these muscles are lengthening and I'm adding more weight to them. And the muscles at the back are shortening. So the average person has a 1 to a 1.5 inch, not centimeter, okay, but inch forward head position. So off of the plumb line, most adults are 1.5 inches forward off of plumb. Now, you might be like, nah, so what? But when you put it into a special little formula, it equates to about 22 to 25 pounds of force. So if you reach behind your head, find your hairline, and then just slide your hands, like kind of bring your chin to your chest, slide your fingers down, just at the nape of your neck, kind of where your t-shirt, where the tag of your t-shirt is or your shirt is, you'll feel a bone that's sticking out there, okay? That's your 7th cervical vertebrae. That's the last vertebra in the neck. Okay, we have 7 of them. So that's the last one. When we have 1 inch to 1.5 inches of forward head carriage, basically what it means is when you wake up in the morning and you get out of bed, you might as well reach down on the floor, grab that 22-pound chain, put it around the back of your neck and go about your day. And then before you go to bed, take it off, put it down by your bedside, and then in the morning, do it all over again. And then fast forward 10 years and that 22-pound chain becomes 32 pounds. So we're talking drastic implications to our health and wellness, all right? And if you're someone who grinds their teeth, clenches their jaw, you know, you're always going to your chiro or your massage therapist for TMJ stuff, yeah, you might be a little more high strung or, you know, anxious. Yeah. Okay. I'll give you that. But I guarantee if you simply learned how to change your posture, it would just change things for you. All right. So let me tell you how. We're going to go through seated posture because so many of us are seated during the day. And then we're going to go through standing posture. And I have to watch my time because I could talk about posture for 30 hours, not 30 minutes. So I want you to do this with me because if you embody it, kinesthetically move your body to the information I'm sharing, it's going to be absorbed differently. So bring your head forward. And then I want you to imagine you're in your vehicle. And I want you to bring your head back and just rest it gently against the headrest behind you. Okay, there's that invisible headrest in your vehicle. And then bring that head forward to me again, Pez dispenser head. And then I want you to bring the head back in space. Okay. And I'm going to give you something new to do. You're going to place your hands on your ribs. Okay. Bring your chin forward to me. Now, I do not want your rib cage to move. I don't want your rib cage to pop into your hands. That's what it's going to do if you've got a lot of tightness through your core. And not strength, but just tightness. So as you bring your head back to that invisible headrest, if your ribs moved, and you were at my studio with me doing a private, we do a lot of release work through the lat, serratus muscle. We would do some lymph activation because the ribs are supposed to be movable, but they don't have to participate when we're doing this. Okay, so that's just like a little added bonus is if you have a lot of mid to low back pain, you've trained your body that when you move your head, you have to use your rib cage, and that's wasteful. It's inefficient movement. All right, so I want you to bring that head back on that invisible headrest. And if you can grow through your spine, like don't go into that military posture, but if there was just a string on your head and you could bring the head a little bit closer to the ceiling, I want you to notice what starts to happen. And you guys can't see what starts to happen through your core. All right. So do that again. Bring your head forward. Notice how everything through the core kind of collapses. You might feel, folds in your skin. Your organs are now losing space. Now, bring your head back in space against that invisible headrest. Grow through the crown of your head, okay? And see what you feel. So it should feel like there is some activation around your torso, all right? Now, it's not like you're, if you were posing on stage for like a fitness competition, it's not like, I'm going to let you guys are going to get to know me over these 4 weeks. And as I get older, maybe you are the same. As you get older, I have way less patience for BS in my life. So one of the things that just irks me is when you hear fitness professionals talk about squeezing the butt, squeezing the core. It's not squeezing, okay? Because what happens when I tell you to squeeze your butt, you clench your butt, and now those muscles are doing nothing but tensing. And that's not strong. That's just tight. And eventually those muscles really get impacted in a negative way. All right. So as you're sitting here, growing through the crown of your head, visualizing your spine being nice and long, keeping that head back on that invisible headrest, if you do little pokes in your torso, you should feel some muscular activation. And if you're like, I'm not sure, then just kind of slump your body. Now feel your torso. There's like Zippo going on. Grow your spine, bring your head back on your headrest. And so now tomorrow when you get to work, or you can even, whatever you're doing, driving even, this is seated posture. The other bony landmark I want you to get really familiar with are your sit bones. Okay, your sit bones are the two bony bones in your butt. Now, do me a favor and just take the flesh of your butt away. Like just bring your butt out and move that flesh basically, because I really want you to connect down into your sit bones. Now, if you're on your couch or a really soft chair, you're not gonna really feel this. You have to be like on your kitchen chair or on the floor, because you guys, when you're sitting, those sit bones essentially in my world are like your feet, okay? So let's try something here. Can you go into my technical term of Schlumpy posture? All right. So just like sink. Okay. Do you see what's happened to those sit bones? Those sit bones, those bony butt bones have disappeared. They've tucked underneath you. Okay. And for a lot of us who are at our desk all day long, this is how we sit. All right. The fancy term is a posterior pelvic tilt. So we're tucking our tailbone between our legs. And on week 4, when we actually are going to be moving together, I'm not saying a posterior tilt is bad. I'm just saying in this case, when we're 8 hours a day like this, it's not great. All right. It puts force into our low back. It turns on our hip flexors, our psoas muscle, which we'll learn about more in 2 weeks. And it really loads us unnecessarily. So now even imagine like there is no space for our organs to do their job. So if you have digestive issues, if you get constipated quite easily, this is because you're taking away, like I have this space, like here's from here to here, there's my belly button. Here's the base of my chest, basically. Okay, so when I'm schlumpy, now watch what happens to this space. When I simply bring myself into proper posture, look at the drastic change. Look at how much space I create. So when I do that, gang, I'm actually turning on my core. And in week 4, I'm going to show you that you never, ever, ever have to do an abdominal crunch again in your life to have strong abs. I'm going to show you how to improve your core strength without ever having neck pain or jaw tension. All right, ever. Or, some people get really in their hip flexors. That's what I'm going to show you. And that's the redefinition of core. All right. So I hope you can feel the difference between a lack of space, schlumpy, and proper posture here. Because during our day, if we can keep our abdominals engaged, The deepest set of abdominals that we have are called the transverse abs. They actually start in our low back and they wrap around to our front. So they're literally like a corset or one of those big, thick weight training belts. Okay, that's literally, our body has its own support system. We just have become so hung up on other muscle groups, the six pack. This is what I say. If the abdominals were investments and I was making investments, I would not put a penny into the six pack, because that's how it's got a little bit of function. It sits us up, it lays us down in bed, it stands us up when we tie our shoes, but that's about it. And we spend so much time focusing on that, where there's a muscle much deeper that gives us posture, that creates space so that our systems can do their job properly. But yet no one talks about this. Okay. That's soapbox number one for Janet Danielson tonight. All right. So there's your seated posture, you guys. Find those bony bones, bring your head back on your invisible headrest. So basically what I say about posture is, if you get your head in the right spot and you get your feet in the right spot, and in this case, when we're sitting, it's those sit bones. So if you get your sit bones where they should be, if you get your head where it should be, everything else in between is going to follow suit, and you're going to be optimizing your posture. Now, here's the thing. Remember last week when I said to you about hydration? If you're not a water drinker, don't go like to 8 glasses a day, because you're never going to keep it up. Your bladder's not going to love you, and you're just going to go back to how it was. Same thing here. Catch yourself. Like, here's my recipe for posture. All right. It's a 6-week process. And you guys, if you're a note taker, write this down. Okay. In week 1 and week 2, I want you to notice your posture at breakfast, lunch, and supper. Okay. For the next 2 weeks. Week 3 and week 4, I want you to notice where your posture is, whether you're sitting or standing, what you're doing, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then morning snack, afternoon snack, and an evening snack. Not that you have to be, but just now it's 6 times a day that you're paying attention to where am I in space. All right. Week 5 and 6, you're going to add 3 more times during your day. So it's actually 9 times a day for 2 weeks that you're just checking in. Like, it takes seconds. Okay. So don't tell me you don't have time, because remember, as I get older, I have less patience for that. You have time. All right. The outcome of this in 6 weeks, I promise you, if you stay consistent with this practice, with your water, with your breathing, you will have a totally different body. All right. So that's my posture recipe. It takes 6 weeks, and it's just about being mindful. All right, let's go to standing posture. I should check. I think that was Jen. Yeah, I know. It really gets a lot of people's attention when I say like goodbye crunches, because they aren't impactful like they should be. Okay, I'm going to move my Pilates arc here, and I'm going to come to standing so you guys can see me. And you might want to stand up as well. Okay, I want you to see all. Okay, so we're going to do a little assessment here. I want you to like just march. And then when I count down to 1, I want you to stop. 3, 2, 1, just stop. Don't change anything. And I want you to notice where the weight of your body is distributed through your feet. Okay, so what percentage of your weight is in your heels? What percentage of your weight is in the widest part of the foot, called the metatarsals? What part of your weight is under the toes? I'm going to let you just like in your head. Here, oh, see my feet. Good thing I'm not a tall person, because this wouldn't work. Okay, so most people have 80% of their weight on the forefoot, okay? Under the toe pads and across the widest part of the foot. And you guys, and I can do this because I just got a pedicure, so I feel good about my feet. This is when I talk about the widest part of the foot, this is what I'm talking about right here. So at the base of each toe is a little knuckle called the metatarsal. That's the spot I'm talking about. So under the toe pad, widest part of the foot, and then heel, okay? So most of us live with 80% of our weight in the forefoot. And if that's you, we're going to change that, because here's what happens. Our quadriceps, the muscles at the front of our legs, do not know when to turn off. Okay, they're on all the time. We become what's called a sway back. So we get a big arch in our low back. We push our hips forward and we kind of do this. Okay. So this is the posture that happens when we have 80% of our weight in the forefoot. And you can feel through your core, there's really not much going on. Maybe at the front a little bit, because you would fall over otherwise. But you'll start to notice a little bit of uncomfortableness in the low back. Now, here's the magic formula. You want 60% of your weight in the heel, that big calcaneus bone. You want 40% of your weight across the widest part of your foot, and your toe pads should be light, like 0.2%. All right. So here's what happens. We're just going to stand here. I want you to have your toes facing straight ahead and bring 60% of that weight back. You're going to notice some work in the front of your quads for sure, okay, because they're not quite sure what's going on. And you're going to start to feel some work here. And you might, even if you didn't know better, you would actually start to, after a minute or two, be like, this hurts my back, okay? And I want to help you understand, as we redefine wellness this month, hurt, pain is sharp and shooting. Yes, that's when you need to stop, not push through, absolutely. But when you start to learn what a fatigued muscle feels like, a tired muscle, a muscle that is doing its job properly, that's a whole new ballgame, all right? So as you stand here with your 60% of your weight in your heels, 40% across the widest part of the foot, eyes on the horizon, head back when you're in visible headrest, growing through the crown of your head, palms facing your body, not the wall behind you. And I want you to hold it here. And we're going to stay here for a minute. And all I want you to do is notice in your body, maybe the top 2 or 3 spots or muscles that are getting really tired, okay? So just in this minute, start to notice, where are you working hard to hold your bones in gravity in this way? Because what I can tell you, gang, is that the muscles that are fatiguing are the ones that are not used to bearing this load in this way. And they're tapping out. They're like, stop, go back to this. This is easy, all right? So we're gonna stay for 30 more seconds, and I want you to pay attention. 60-40, that's your checklist. 60% of the weight in your heels, 40% across the widest part of your foot, toes facing straight ahead, crown of the head going this way, head back on that invisible headrest, and then palms facing you. Let's just stay for 10 more seconds. You can practice your diaphragmatic breathing. Do 2 more big breaths here. Get it into that belly. And one more time, inhale and exhale. All right. Oh my gosh, it's 8:44. Nothing like cutting it super close. Okay, so that's standing posture. And that, for most people, that's a complete change from where they usually live, especially if you've had injuries. If you have had knee injuries or hip injuries, ankle injuries, the body is so smart that over the time of that injury, even if it's when you were like in high school sports, right? The body is so good at compensating that when we work in this Pilates environment that truly works on rewiring your brain, we're going to get into that next week, the body is going to respond. And sometimes it's going to like push back and be like, I know it wasn't great where we used to live, but I kind of like it there because it's easy. So this is truly where the mind and the body start to have a little bit of a conversation with each other. And what I can tell you is that the better you are at being consistent, okay? I don't love using the word commitment. People get freaked out by commitment, all right? This is just a consistent practice. That's all I'm encouraging you to do. is just consistently drink your water, breathe, notice where your body is in space, okay? Because that becomes part of the mind body piece. And you'll start to see your muscles are going to be like, isn't that interesting? That's something new she's getting us to do now, or he's getting us to do now. And it is, that's the whole point. But the change has to happen literally from the inside out, and not just in the body, but in the mind. There's a new pattern that has to emerge from this new learning. And we're never, like I said last week, we are never too old to learn new concepts about our body and improve our quality of life. So that's my posture talk for tonight, seated, standing. Are there any questions, comments? I'm happy to take them now. And if not, then I will see you all here, same time, same bat channel. We'll be here next Tuesday. So the next 2 weeks, you guys, we don't amp things up, but we're gonna go a little deeper. Okay, we're gonna layer on, and we're gonna get into some neuro work next week, neuroplasticity, which is like a passion of mine. And I'm excited to share that with you. And then we're going to put it all together in week 4 and do some movement together. Yeah, exactly. You know, they do say that sitting is the new smoking. I mean, you've heard that, right? But what I can tell you is that posture is actually an aging catalyst. We get older faster because our blood flow is negatively impacted. So when our tissues don't have oxygen-rich, nutrient-rich blood, which again is part of next week's in week 4, we age quicker. So we can actually reverse or slow the aging process with these concepts. So there you go, everyone. Bethany, any last words?
Well, I'm just agreeing with what everybody's saying in the comments. So Frida said that the half hour goes so fast. I totally agree. So much valuable information. I wish we had hours. Like you said, you could talk about it for 30 hours, and I'd love to hear you talk about it for 30 hours.
I know.
No, that was amazing. Like, posture is one of the hardest things for me, and I really like the idea of like checking in with yourself 3 times a day and then building up from there, because I immediately felt it in my shoulders when we were standing. So super helpful.
That's exactly it. So when you think about it, I don't know if anyone's ever had frozen shoulder, but it's called frozen shoulder because our scapula, the shoulder blade, literally adheres or sticks to our rib cage. And so that is why when you were standing, I was like, what is giving you the most feedback? Okay, that's going to be golden information, because this movement isn't a one size fits all. So for Bethany, if she was like in my shoulders, I'd be like, all right, Bethany, here's a little pinky ball. Here's how I want you to use it. I want you to lay on it. I want you to move your arm this way, that way. You know, Jennifer might say, oh, you know what? I really felt that in my hip. For her, I'd give her a whole different series of movements to do to kind of get right. And I just, I just pulled the hip out of the air. I didn't. I'm just guessing. Most people are like shoulder people, or really tight hips from sitting is super, super chronic. So thanks everyone for showing up, taking the time to spend it with me today. You guys, I have to tell you a little secret. I didn't know if I was going to make it tonight. At 5 o'clock this morning, I woke up with the worst stomach flu I've ever had in my life. It was, I've been calling it my exorcism. It like from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. I have never been that sick in my life. And I was sleeping on my deck until about 7:45. So I'm glad that, I'm glad that I was able to make it and share my love of movement and the body with you. And then we'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I hope you're feeling better. You couldn't tell that you have been sick all day.
I'm like, I'll tell the story after. I won't tell it at the beginning.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Jana, and also for everybody who joined us this evening, Frida, Holly, and Florence. And for anybody watching the recording, hopefully this is beneficial to you as well. We really hope to see you next Tuesday evening. Thanks so much and have a great night.